Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Western North Carolina USTA Captains Meeting. Thank you. League tennis does not function without captains. The USTA builds the framework, but you are the ones that bring it to life. Your leadership determines whether a season runs smoothly, whether players feel supported, and whether our league culture stays strong. I'm Jennifer Kersey, your local league coordinator for Western North Carolina. Since we aren't meeting in person this year, I wanted you to at least be able to put a face with the name from your emails. But don't worry, I'm not going to stay on the screen very long. Today, we're going to cover how the USTA League is structured, the captain's roles and responsibilities, match day procedures, rescheduling rules, major regulation updates for 2026, and the resources that are available to you to support you. I know some of you have been captaining for years. If you want to speed up the playback, that's fine. But please remember, things change every year. And for our leagues to run smoothly, it's important that we are all operating from the same understanding. Okay? So let's get started. Let's zoom out for just a moment. USTA League is a national program. It's organized by age group and NTRP skill level. We are part of the Southern section, the largest section in the country. Western North Carolina is one of 14 areas within the state of North Carolina's USTA. The local winners from each area advance to the state championship. And from there, you can go to sectionals, and from there, nationals. Understanding this structure explains why deadlines matter and why certain rules are firm. We are not just running a local league. We are the starting line for a much larger competitive pathway. The timing of our local league is done based on when the state championships are scheduled. Each level feeds into the next. That means our local season must finish on time so advancing teams can move forward. That's why completing matches by the end of the season is not optional. It's essential. League tennis is a collaborative effort. Facilities, coordinator, committees, captains, players. Every role supports the others. And as captain, you are the bridge between your players and the league structure. New this year is the captain and player agreement. It outlines expectations for both captains and players and includes a sportsmanship pledge. You've taken on leadership, but your players also have responsibilities. They need to be reliable, prepared, communicative, and committed to good sportsmanship. A team is only as strong as the accountability of each person on it. Please reinforce this agreement early, and especially with any players who join your roster later in the season. Your responsibilities as captain fall into 5 main areas. First, stay informed. Read your emails, know the regulations, and use WNCtennis.com. I'm always happy to help, but sometimes you're going to need an answer quickly, and there's a wealth of information available, so use it. Second, manage your team. One of our biggest goals is minimizing defaulted lines. There is nothing more disappointing than setting aside time to compete and then finding out a match isn't going to happen. Plan your lineups in advance. Have backups ready. And contact me if you need help building your roster. We'll go into match day and rescheduling in more detail, but I want to touch briefly on something just as important: creating the experience. Being a captain is not just an administrative role. You create culture. You build community. You shape how your players feel about their season. Encouragement in a group text, coordinating team colors, or organizing a meal after a match. The little things matter. Do not underestimate your influence here. Now let's talk about preparation. A little work before match day makes everything smoother. Proactive communication is the number one thing you can do as a captain. A quick text to the opposing captain at least a day in advance. Confirm the time of the match, the location, and any details about the facility they need to know. Keep an eye on the weather forecast. And if you will not be present, designate an acting captain and make sure that everybody has the contact information they need in case they need to get in touch. If you anticipate defaulting a line, wait as long as possible. Sometimes situations change. But if you are within 2 hours of match time and you can't field a line, notify your opponent as a courtesy so they don't make an unnecessary drive. Clear communication prevents frustration. On match day, lead by example. Arrive at least 15 minutes early. Exchange your scorecards no later than match time. Matches are often scheduled back-to-back every 90 minutes, so starting promptly matters. The warm-up is 5 minutes. It's not practice, and it goes quickly. Play should remain continuous. When all lines are complete, connect with the opposing captain, confirm your scores there on the spot, and thank them for the match. The winning captain should enter the scores into the app or on TennisLink. And once the scores are entered, remember changes can't be made, so if there's a problem, contact me and please copy the opposing captain. Remember, professionalism sets the tone for the entire match experience. As captain, you are responsible for making sure your players understand the rules. If they're new to league play, encourage them to read the code in Friend of Court. If a ball touches the line, it's in. If you don't clearly see it out, it's in. Call your scores audibly. No coaching. No profanity. No racket abuse. Remember, league play is a privilege, and with that privilege comes the responsibility to know and follow the rules. Time limits exist to respect everybody that's involved, the facilities that are hosting us, and the teams waiting to play after you. Make sure your players know these time limits. Spring schedules are especially tight. The 5-minute warm-up is the one that most players struggle with. Set a timer if you need to. When everybody respects the clock, matches will run smoothly. Let's be realistic. Players get stuck in traffic. Work runs late. If a player is not on site at match time, you have options. You may exchange lineups and begin play. If the player is not present after 15 minutes, the line defaults. You can substitute an eligible on-site player before that 15-minute mark. Or you can wait to exchange your lineups, but this isn't recommended, especially if court time is limited. Captains may also mutually agree to adjust the start time if courts are available. And if you have to default a line, please don't panic. Life happens. Reset and compete on the remaining courts. That said, if you are in danger of a full team default, contact me. A full team default occurs when you cannot field the majority of courts. In that case, the match is invalid and all the lines are recorded as 6-0, 6-0 wins. We want to avoid that whenever possible. When courts are limited, matches may be staggered into 2 rounds, with the second round starting as soon as the first one finishes. Scorecards for all lines are exchanged at the start. Players in the later round must be on site within 1 hour of the official start time. The 15-minute default rule applies based on each line's starting time. Time is especially important in staggered matches. Keep play continuous and follow the time limits. The goal is always to play on the scheduled date, but sometimes life happens and you need to reschedule. The good news is you can, but there are rules to keep things fair and prevent matches from dragging on indefinitely. You can always adjust the time on the scheduled date. You can also play early by mutual agreement. But playing after the scheduled date is only allowed for certain situations. Floater matches, inclement weather, approved holiday conflicts, or championship conflicts. Anything else risks being recorded as a default. Playing early is a courtesy. It is intended to avoid defaults on match day, not to stack your strongest lineup. Captains should work together to ensure enough lines are played to make the match valid. Once you agree on a new date, it becomes the official match date. If weather cancels that early date, the match reverts to the original scheduled date, unless you mutually agree on another early option. Now let's look at the approved reasons you can play after the scheduled date. The first are floater matches. These are specific to the spring season. Floater matches apply to matches scheduled on clay courts within 1 week of the facility's clay opening date. If all goes well, the courts open on time and you play as scheduled. But if courts are not yet opened, the match becomes a floater. In that case, the match must be played within 4 weeks of the facility's clay opening date, or by the end of the season, whichever comes first. Captains should agree on a new date within 1 week of the court's opening. If you can't agree by then, the match automatically defaults to the last Friday in the makeup window. Before we move into inclement weather, let's briefly talk about holiday and championship conflicts. For major holidays like Mother's Day or July 4th, you can reschedule to avoid defaults. But I can't stress this enough. If you have players available on that holiday, use them. You have the courts already reserved. Do not use holidays as an opportunity to stack your best lineup. The courts are reserved. Only reschedule what you absolutely must. And if you do reschedule, you must give the opposing captain at least 1 week's notice. Similarly, if your players are advancing to a state, sectional, or national event, you may be eligible to reschedule lines. New this year, you'll see an easy-to-use table in the regulations. It takes into account your roster size and the number of impacted players to determine how many lines may be rescheduled. Even though eligibility is easier to determine, you must still complete the championship conflict form at least 1 week in advance. This allows me to verify that the impacted players are officially registered in that championship event. Similar to holiday conflicts, if you have players available, use them. The courts are reserved. Only reschedule what you absolutely must. Now let's move into inclement weather. You'll notice that what qualifies as inclement weather is more clearly defined this year. Precipitation is obvious, but temperature limits and air quality thresholds are also outlined, and they are set with player safety in mind. If players mutually agree, however, they may choose to play in those conditions. You'll also see that facility-related issues that affect our court playability are handled under the same inclement weather guidelines. This is probably the most important rule about rain. Seriously, do not look out your window and decide on the rain at your house. The only thing that matters is the condition of the courts at the match location. Unless you receive an official call or text that the match is off, you must assume it is on. The home captain, together with their facility, makes that decision approximately 90 minutes to 2 hours before match time, based on the conditions at the facility. If weather erupts after you arrive, please give the facility and the home captain some grace. We are not meteorologists. Weather in our area is often spotty and unpredictable. Everybody is making the best call possible with the information available. If inclement weather occurs after you arrive, you need to ask 2 questions. 1, have the scorecards been exchanged? And 2, has any court started play? Those answers determine whether defaults will stand and whether substitutions are allowed. If the answer to both those questions is no, you have full flexibility. Your roster is open again, and any defaults that you had coming into the match are reinstated and can be adjusted. But now let's say you have exchanged scorecards or even warmed up, but no court has actually served the first point. In that case, defaults are reinstated, but your lineup is restricted. The players that were listed on the exchange scorecard cannot move to different lines. However, you may substitute any eligible player on your roster who is not already on the scorecard. Now, in the final scenario, if play has begun on even one court, defaults stand, and any court that started play is locked. That means the same players, the same score, the same receiving positions, the same service order. Courts that hadn't begun play can substitute players not listed on the original scorecard. We are fortunate to have several facilities with indoor options. Especially late in the season when time is tight, teams are encouraged to move indoors if possible. But if you do, remind your players that respecting the clock is vital. Indoor courts often have hard stop times. You do not want to be deep into a third set tiebreak and find out your time has expired and you must return on another day to finish. Move efficiently between your points and during changeovers. Time awareness when you're indoors is critical. Matches may be made up line by line or all on one date. The timeline, however, is the same. Home captains have 48 hours to make contact and propose 2 to 3 options based on the home court availability. Within 4 days, both teams should agree on when all lines will be played within the makeup window. If you can't agree, don't panic. There's a built-in safeguard. The last Friday of the makeup window is the automatic default date. It's not a punishment. It simply keeps the season moving. As mentioned earlier, once scorecards are exchanged, those players are locked into those lines. Your only flexibility is substituting players not listed on the lineup. To maintain maximum flexibility, do not exchange scorecards until you are on site. If you're rescheduling line by line, the contacts you provide should be considered coordinators for that line, not necessarily the players, unless you're explicitly communicating that they will be playing. Your makeup is rained out. This is every captain's nightmare. You coordinate a makeup date and it rains again. The good news is the window resets. You get another 2 weeks, or until the end of the season, whichever comes first. But be realistic. If the season ends Saturday and your rainout happens on Tuesday, you don't have weeks, you have days. Be proactive. If the weather looks questionable, move indoors or adjust early if you can. Now for the good part, advancing to the state championships. Captains, this is important. If your team is in contention, you must know before the season ends whether your team is willing and able to go. There may be only a few weeks between your match and the championship event. Accommodations, schedules, availability, these all require planning. The first place gets the invitation. If they decline, it goes to the second place team. If you are even close to the top of your flight, have that conversation with your team early. Except for direct advance teams, all players must meet match minimums. Typically, that's 2 matches in the spring and mixed leagues and 1 for the other leagues, but always confirm in the regulations. Plan your lineups accordingly so that everyone who wants to advance is eligible. Before we discuss major regulation changes, a quick word about grievances. Grievances are USTA's formal process for addressing serious misconduct. They're intended for significant issues: flagrant, unsportsmanlike conduct, gaming the system, repeated rule violations even after you've been warned. Most issues should and can be resolved through respectful discussion. But if something arises that's of this serious nature, please contact me. If a grievance is necessary, I will walk you through the process and coordinate with the grievance committee. As league coordinator, I do not deliberate or determine the outcomes of grievances. I simply facilitate the process. There are several regulation updates this year, most of which simply clarify existing language and don't really change the spirit of the regulation. However, a few are major. First, local playoff criteria changed at the state level. Because those regulations are geared towards very large areas, we will no longer have local playoffs unless teams do not play every team in a flight at least once. This will help us to open up the season for 1 more week and give us more court time on the courts. Second, the new player and captain agreement. All players will receive it at the start of the season. Abiding by this agreement is mandatory for participating in the league. If players join your team late, please make sure they're aware of it because they won't get that start of the season email. Its purpose is simple. It's to maintain a culture of respect, sportsmanship, and fair play. All right, next, promoted players. If you have a self-rated player planning to play in the next season, so they're spring and they're wanting to play summer, or summer and they're wanting to play in the fall, and they are getting and they have to re-rate during your season, have them wait until your season concludes before registering for that next team and re-rating. Because if they re-rate during your season they get bumped up, they will no longer be eligible to continue at their current level. Last year, they could finish the season at their old level, but that is no longer the case. They will immediately have to start playing at that higher level. And finally, residency requirements. For teams with no local play, half of the roster must now be residents of Western North Carolina rather than a majority or more than half. And as mentioned earlier, staggered matches, there was a change in terms of the start time for that second round. Players do not have to be on site until 1 hour after, although we still encourage you to be there at the start of match in case courts are open earlier. The next two slides list regulation clarifications. There's quite a few, but the spirit of these really haven't changed. It's just been more honed in, I guess. The first is the last day to play a match. This just clarifies that the last day to play a match, the last day of the season, if matches aren't played by then, they won't be counted in the standings. Courts with pickleball lines. I will not schedule a court on pickleball lines, but if a makeup match is played on a court and it's played in good faith, that result will be valid and it will stand. Scorecard exchange just further clarifies that you cannot, once you've exchanged a scorecard, move players from one line to a different line. They have to stay on the line they were originally on the scorecard. Spectators, always been the case, but spectators cannot help or aid in calls, and if that is happening at a match, please address it immediately to prevent it happening repeatedly through a match. Cell phones and electronic devices. You can wear smartwatches for tracking your activity, but they are not to be used for communicating, whether it's over text, phone, or any other way. And then floating matches are specifically have been added into the regulations. They were just a policy before. Now they're actually part of the regulation. Continuing on, this has been mentioned already, but the inclement weather, what defines that, has been clarified in the regulations. Makeup location for makeup matches, it just says that if the facility has limited availability, you can play a makeup match somewhere besides that home facility. If you can find available court somewhere else, you're not locked into having to play that at the home facility. And then the championship conflicts. If you do have a championship conflict, if it is an out-of-town championship that's going to require overnight stay and so forth, most of those start on Thursday. Wednesday night matches would be included in that exemption of and be covered by the conflict if somebody is needing to travel overnight to get there that night. And again, championship conflicts, there is a new chart for determining eligibility in the regulations. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to walk you briefly through the updated webpage, www.wnctennis.com. This has been totally revamped, and I want to go through and show you just a little bit to highlight the resources that are available for you there. So let's do a quick tour of the resources you have online. First, how to get there. If you're on the Asheville Tennis Association site, there is a tab here for WNC Leagues. Click that. It will take you to our hub. You can also get to it from WNCtennis.com. That goes directly here. When you pull up the hub, you'll see several things. There's tabs on the left-hand side, and we have those same tabs pictured here on the home page. There's also a button here, this little search bar, and if you want to find something really quick, you can just click that, search for whatever it is you're looking for on the site, and it'll take you there. But let's go through each of these. Getting started in the league, finding a team, league descriptions and days of play, the calendar, championship advancement, knowing the rules, captain's corner, forums and quick links, and the local league stats and standings archives. So let's go with getting started in the league. This is a great place to send new players that don't know anything about league yet. There's the National Tennis, the NTRP, everything you wanted to know about NTRP, you can find there. There's the Find a Team forms if someone's wanting to find a team. If you go there for each different season, there's a form that you could fill out to find you a team. Information on joining the USTA and registering. Player expectations, the captain and player agreement. Information about Tennis Link, and then registration holds and refunds. So that's all under getting started. The next comes the league descriptions and days of play. League descriptions is exactly what it says. If you click there, you'll get a description of each of the leagues and what they play. The league chart is that similar kind of thing, but in chart form. It'll show you each of the leagues, the levels that are offered, the dates that they have, the roster size limits, the registration dates, all of it's in this league chart. The state championships, you can find everything there. The days of play are the specific ones for the different leagues. So the only one that's out right now, everybody's seen, is the Spring League's day of play. So that's days of play. And let's see. Then we have also the number of matches to expect chart. There's a chart here that you can look at for however many teams are in your league, and it gives you an idea of how many matches you can expect to get. So that's under that. The calendar is a calendar that pulls together both our deadlines and dates, as well as championships, local tournaments, and so forth. So if I click forward a little bit here, you'll see that there's the Winter Blast that's coming up at Hendersonville local Racquet Club. Registration opens April 1st for mixed doubles and tri-level. Going into April, the 70s Invitational. The 65's last day of play is April 25th. And so forth. So you can go through here and you can kind of get an idea of what's coming up, what things are, obviously, as we get into the summer and stuff like that, the calendar becomes a little bit more full. So that's the calendar. Know the Rules is divided up into 3 different sections. One is on the court, so rules that you have on the court, the local rules, so our local regulations, and then the rules beyond our local area, so the national regulations, Southern and North Carolina's regulations. One of the neat things under the local rules that I find is there's information on warm-ups and breaks. Please take a look at this. We talked a lot about the clock, but it's going to be really important. There's a video on here on how to do a 5-minute warm-up, and it talks about, again, what your limits are. There's also the USTA rule scenarios and interpretations. These are interesting. Different what ifs from on the court. Those are kind of fun to look through. So that's the Know the Rules. The Captain's Corner is kind of there's information that you might find other places, but it puts it all together on one page for you. So things all captains should know, finding information that you might need, how to view your standings or your schedule and so forth, entering scores, Tennis Link guides, forms such as refund request forms or the championship conflict reschedule form. Everything you possibly need could probably be found on this page. And if it's not, let me know and I'll see about having it added. But I tried to put everything that you could possibly be looking for in one place for you. Let's see. Quick links and forms is pretty much the same thing, except for it leaves out some of the stuff that's more just captain oriented. So this is more like a general player links and forms, but same kind of thing. Again, there's a lot of things that are redundant. You can find them in multiple places. I didn't want you to have to hunt too much, so I put them in more than one spot. The Stats and Standings Archive. Here you can find the 2026, the teams that are advancing to state. This is empty right now because we haven't gotten anywhere, but there's a tab at the bottom for each of the different seasons. And in each one, you'll have the different flights. I'll have listed the number of teams that competed in that flight, who won first, who won second, and then who is accepted the bid to go to the state championship. So we'll have that in there. You'll also be able to pull up the standings I'll go to 2025 because 2026 doesn't have anything yet. But if you click on any of these, it'll pull up and you can go to the team standings and see in 18 and over 2-5, Team Chatham came in first with 7 wins and 2 losses. So all the different standings for all the different leagues you'll be able to find there easily. Championship advancement, this is if you're looking at going on to state, this is where you're going to be wanting to look. This is that same tab as before. It just shows you which teams are advancing. If you're a directed advanced team, there's guidelines for you here. This is a link that takes you to the state championship websites. This is where you'll find the tournament info for the various state championships, where they're being played, and the timelines and things like that. That's all under that area. And then the list of wildcards, needs to be updated. That's 2025, but the wildcard list. There's also a list for the Southern Championship websites and calendar, as well as the National. And then we have the Contact Us, where you can find my pretty picture. If you can't find anything, you're always free. Please reach out. But I am one person, and sometimes you need to get an answer quicker than I can get back to you. Now I'd like to go to Tennis Link and talk a little bit about that. When you go into Tennis Link, this is on my page here, there's several ways you can enter the score. There's this button here for entering the scores. You can scroll down to the bottom where you'll have a list of your matches by date, and you can enter the score there. You can also enter the score through either the team management windows. This is the underlined. When your team is underlined, that's kind of the old way, and then this is the new way. But you can get things the old way that I want to show you. So if you were to click on here, you would pull open a screen that would look similar to this, with a list of all your teams. And what I wanted to point out is the captain's report. This is where you're going to find the captain's report. Players won't see this. It's just the captains. But this is where you will have the contact information for all the other captains that are in your flight. The other thing is the match schedule. If you were to click on the match schedule, I'll show you an example on another team that I'm on. You'll get all the matches will pull up. And if you were to hover on the match ID, you'll see you can print a blank scorecard from here. And I like to go at the beginning of the season and just print the scorecards for all the different matches and keep them in a folder in my car so that I always have them when it's match time. All right, if we go back, like I said, that's the old Tennis Link. There's also the new team management thing, which is using this arrow button. You can click it and go to it. It's not going to pull up anything on mine right now because we don't actually have schedules in there yet. But if you go back to the Tennis Hub and you go to the Captain's Corner, let's see here. Tennis Link user guides. That's where I want you to go. Under that, you have the Captain's Guide in Tennis Link. If you click on that, this is kind of a tutorial on the Tennis Link team management thing. And it'll go through the same, you can use the blue arrow button here to get into it. It'll show you how you can see the calendar view. You can see your players' availability. Communication by email and text can be done through this. You can do it to just people in the lineup. You can do it to your entire team. You can also do your lineups in here, and you can print your scorecards with those lineups from in here in team management. You can enter scores in this way. There's just a lot of things. So I encourage you to please pull that up and read through it if you have not already gotten yourself familiar with the team management. All right. So that is Tennis Link. All right, now you know what to do, how to do it, and why it matters. USTA League is not just about winning. It's about building a real community, one that values how we play the game just as much as who wins. I genuinely appreciate the time and energy you invest in your teams. Captains are volunteers. You give hours that most players never even see. And league tennis thrives because of you. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for your leadership, for your time, for your commitment to sportsmanship. You are what makes Western North Carolina a fantastic place to compete. Now let's get out there and have a great season.